The city that ran out of toilet paper. A tummy bug swept across the city of Milwaukee in the spring of 1993, causing the world's first great toilet paper shortage. I'm Emma, I'm a scientist, and I study the bug that caused this disaster. This is the story of how one city ran out of toilet paper. One Monday morning in Milwaukee, people in the city were beginning to wake up. But all was not well. One by one, people began to fall ill. They ran to the bathrooms, hunched over in a sweat, and with nausea washing over them, diarrhea erupted out of their bums. But there was no relief. The mayor rounded his shopping trolley to grab the final item on his list. He stopped. The toilet roll aisle was completely empty. Ugh, what a bummer, he thought. A curiosity was occurring throughout Milwaukee. People were phoning in sick for work, or simply not coming in, but none of the adults wanted to tell each other exactly why. Now, the mayor of the city had seen the parks had no children playing in them, and he began to worry that there was a problem in his city. He learned that the hospitals were getting very busy with sick children, and many of the nurses to look after them were off sick too. Many of the teachers, of the butchers and the bakers just weren't showing up for work. The city was nearly in lockdown. The mayor decided he had to do a telephone survey. He was to phone around the families in his city and find out exactly why they were sick. The mayor was going to get to the bottom of this. Red-cheeked, the parents answered the phone and they told him that they were all suffering from a runny tummy. Half of everybody that he phoned had diarrhea. And the mayor wasn't the only one struggling to locate the loo roll. The whole city was seeing a shortage. Not just in Milwaukee, but even in the neighbouring states. The hospital was getting very busy. One young girl, weak and exhausted from days of diarrhea, was being carried in by her dad. A tube was filled with poo to be passed on to a scientist who was working at the back of the hospital. The scientist put a small drop of diarrhea onto a glass slide and peered down the microscope. She could see a very small, perfectly round, smooth shell. She looked even closer and the shell was jiggling. Suddenly, a tiny worm fired out, and a second, and a third, and a fourth. The tiny what's-it worms slithered and squirmed. The scientist saw Cryptosporidium. How could a tiny parasite spread so far and make a whole city sick? The mayor and the scientist worked out a plan to save the city. They knew that Cryptosporidium was spread by dirty water. Earlier that month, a huge rainstorm had washed a lot of Cryptosporidium infected cow poo off the fields and into the lake. And the drinking water for the city was taken from the lake. The Cryptosporidium was so small and protected in its shell that it slipped past the water filters and the treatments. So the mayor sat up straight and told everyone to boil their water. And the shopkeepers shrugged and told everyone to wash their bums. The drinking water was cleaned and the demand for toilet paper loosened, just as everyone's bowels calmed. I'm Emma, I'm a scientist studying Cryptosporidium, and this was based on real events. Around 100 people died, and over 400,000 people were infected in this outbreak in 1993. Nowadays, the water we drink is checked for Cryptosporidium, but we should continue to learn about how diseases spread so that disasters like this don't repeat themselves.